Hello, AP students. This is Mrs. Politsky, and I have your free response question for Chapter 2. So, design an experiment to determine whether a new medication will help Alzheimer's patients, AD patients, and be sure to name and describe all of the components of an experimental study, including the independent variable, dependent, and confounding variables, along with the random sample and assignment issues and the controls. Plus, you need at least 2 ethical issues related to the study. This question is worth 8 points. And an example here would be the random sample is a sample that fairly represents a population because each member has an equal chance of inclusion. Your controls, these are your constraints that the experimenter places on the experiment to ensure that each subject has an exact same chance of, basically having the same conditions. And for the first part here, the participants uh, need to be identified as an Alzheimer's patient. And there could be a control group of adults with early Alzheimer's symptoms and an experimental group with moderate symptoms. Number two, there should be some mention of some sort of sampling. It could be a random sampling from a group of Alzheimer's patients or random sample for the treatment of the conditions. In the next part, the variables. Independent variable, this is a stimulus condition that the experimenter changes independently of all other carefully controlled experimental conditions. Your dependent variable measures the outcome of the study, responses of the subject in the study. And your confounding variable, these are the variables that have an unwanted influence on the outcome of an experiment. And number three, the independent variable must be identified as drugs, such as the amount of drugs that are going to be consumed. Your dependent variable should be identified as an improvement in memory or some other cognitive improvement. Your confounding variable would include progress of the disease or other medications, the age of the client, and maybe diet or some other items. Your controls for number six, your sample assignments as a control should be mentioned, for example, a placebo that could be used. And as far as your ethical issues for number 7 and 8, informed consent is problematic since the patients who have dementia or Alzheimer's may not be able to give informed consent. And then finally, number 8, the potential harm that this new drug might have must also be taken under consideration as well. All right. Thank you very much.